week, I watched this podcast. I listened to even. Last week, I listened to this podcast, Speaking Business podcast, hosted by Maria Fandoni. Maria Fandoni is big in the industry. If you didn't know, she is a former bureau agency owner. She now has published a book called The 𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗶 a very good book. I highly recommend it. However, this podcast started some thinking, which I was already doing. Her guest was called 𝗤𝗵𝗹𝗹𝗲, and he is a keynote speaker specializing in customer experience. However, the discussion of the podcast really brought to light a topic which is really important in the speaking industry, which is that speaking is a business and that the product is speaking, but behind that, there is pitching and there is actually outreach and marketing. And, the reason that a lot of speakers fail in the instance, a lot of speakers fail is because in the first 3 years, they focus too much on the craft and they don't focus in on what's behind that. And that is the pitching, the, having the right assets, the networking, and the building your speaking business. So this was a super powerful podcast, which just aligned with the work that I was doing at that time around pitching and pitching masterclass that I was sharing out into the world. Following on from listening to this podcast, I decided that I wanted to share more insights around what was said here. So I created this post. So this post says, according to Statistica, revenue from speakers, the speaker market is projected to hit 49.65 billion in 2025. So basically, there's enough money in the speaking industry for all of us. Like, there's no scarcity at all. But the problem is that, many speakers aren't making money or the money that they want to make. And as listening to that podcast from Maria, it said, I reflected and was like, actually, speaking isn't just delivering your talk, it's being a professional speaker and it's a business, and therefore you've got to market, promote yourself, network, and pitch. And you've got to be relevant and bookable. And so I asked ChatGPT to, search for keynote speakers that talked about getting paid by pitching, or as pitching as part of their process. And it's quite surprising to find. And yes, I also did Google this. And what even came up on Google was sparse. It wasn't plentiful. It wasn't like there was something every week, every month, every day of the year. It was like there was a very small handful of things, more than ChatGPT could find me, but like it wasn't like overpopulated with things, which is quite surprising, given that pitching is an essential part of being a professional speaker. When I asked ChatGPT specifically, because sometimes it can, curate and find you useful information if you give it the right prompts. What can it find on keynote speakers that talk about pitching? And again, it came up with two names, which were Grant Baldwin and James Marshall Riley. But that was it. So, it means that pitching is under talked about in the world of professional speaking. And that's quite surprising, given that it is like a backbone of speaking, because it is not just attracting gigs. It is not just simply having instructions or, it being by things that are out of your control. It is also about by doing the hard graft, and that is the pitching, that is having your assets in place, and that is, understanding that it's a business. And so if it's a business, you have to do outreach, you have to network, and you have to put yourself out there visibly. And so this is the part which a lot of speakers fall down on, because they think that the business side can wait, and it really can't. If you want to actually scale your speaking business, you actually need to be pitching. And 𝗤𝗵𝗹𝗹𝗲 said that he's got a team that helps him to pitch for gigs, and it's a solid part of the way that he gets booked and paid to speak. And I was so delighted to hear him talk about that loud and proud on Maria's podcast. Again, please listen to that podcast. It was brilliant. The conversation that they had, these are two seasoned experts talking about the business of speaking. And the fact is that they both acknowledge that pitching is part of the process. It is really necessary, and it is something that is essential in order to scale and grow the business. So I am sitting here today doing behind the scenes of pitching and what it means to me. This summer, I ran a pitch school, and it had 15 emails. And in the 15 emails that were run sequentially day to day, it went through, what you need in order to be be successful at pitching. So, covered things like your bio, your headshot, your speaker assets, talks that you might, examples of talks, and that kind of thing. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you part 2 of that, one of my pitching workshops this summer. So in that workshop, we talked about, or in pitch school, we talked about having a systemized process for outreach. And we talked about having your short and long bio prepared, your talks and workshop descriptions prepared, headshots, testimonials, your speaker CV, your podcast and guest information as well, and your assets, so that's photos and videos, having them together, logged in a folder on your laptop, so that you can be super efficient when it comes to applying for calls for speakers. You can respond when you have been doing your own outreach and you've secured a deal to send through standard information, your photo, your bio, your links, all these things. And because I spent a lot of time this summer really focusing in on teaching, I actually neglected my own, assets and information. So this video is just to share with you some of the stuff that you need when you are pitching, but it's also to share with you that it's actually an iterative process. So also, although I've been teaching about this summer and this winter, and I will continue to teach about it, I also still have to get my own house in order. And today I'm going to get my own house in order, and really putting together in one single file on my desktop. Because at the moment it's a little bit disparate for me, I confess. After taking the time to teach and tell everyone how best to do it, I've not been following best practices myself, I confess. But I just thought I'd put together this quick, sort of 5-minute, back behind the scenes, insight into, what it takes to actually run your speaking business, and also to share that I'm going to be doing something really show and tell, no glass, no glitz, and that's for October. So in October, I am going to be running a 30-day challenge, a pitch challenge, basically. I think I'm going to call it Pitchtober. How original, haha. Pitchtober. So, and in that, it's not going to be like the pitch schools and the masterclasses that I've run before. No, it's actually going to be something even more back to basics. So it might be for everyone. And what I'm going to be doing is actually what I love to do is the show and tell type teaching. But this is really bare bones of show and tell. So what I mean by that is basically you sign up, you pay £30, and each day what I will do in this LinkedIn group that we have is I'm going to be telling you what I'm going to be doing to be pitching for speaking gigs that I am pitching for. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and then I will offer you the opportunity for you to decide what you're going to do every day. But Pitchtober is for anyone who wants to focus on pitching for 30 days, for the 30 days of October, or I think 31 days of October, and have some sort of accountability. So again, this is very bones. It's £1 a day, £30. It's £30. Basically, that I'll set up a group, I'll post what I'm doing, invite you to to do a pitching action today, and then you just reply, say whether you're doing something or not. You don't even have to reply, but the point is, though, for 30 days, you will see the actions that I will take to pitch my own stuff. And that is opportunities I have. Like I said, it's show and tell. It's very low maintenance. It is not something that's like all singing or dancing like the masterclasses that I have available. This is more of for someone who wants accountability and group action taking, and just for people who want to watch and see what it takes to pitch. Because in 30 days, I'll have conversations, I'll be reaching out, I will be putting out content, and you can basically journey with me and be a fly on the wall and do your own pitching. So that is opportunities I have. If that sounds of interest, and obviously please do get in touch with me about Pitchtober. And I'd love to have you on board. And yeah, that is it for now. Bye.